Well, we've got another release in the Xiaomi 12 series. We've got the 12 Pro, the 12X, and the 12, and the 12 Lite, just like the name suggests, is a thinner, smaller, lightweight model. It weighs just 173 grams, and it's only 7.29 millimeters thick, powered by the mid-range Snapdragon 778G with 5G support. This model does have a 4,300 mAh battery with 67 watt fast charging. With the cameras, we've got a main 108 megapixel camera. Now, this one we've seen a lot of. It's the Samsung HM2. It's still a very good sensor. We have an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, 2 megapixel for macro, and a 32 megapixel selfie camera. The screen at 6.55 inches. It's an AMOLED screen, 120 Hz, with a 240 Hz sample rate to it, touch sample rate. And it is covered with Gorilla Glass 5. So is it a worthy addition to the Xiaomi 12 series? Let's find out. So what does Xiaomi include in the box? Well, we have our 65 watt charger. They've used this charger with a lot of their phones. It's still very quick. I'll give you the exact charging times later on in the video. Our Type-C to Type-A cable, and then we have a SIM tray tool, the usual paperwork that they include for their EU models. So we've got safety information, leaflet, quick start guide, and a warranty card, then a TPU case, which is quite a nice one. And I do like the fact that it's a clear one, not the smoky grey that they sometimes use. So you can see the nice color that we do have, at least with the version of the 12 Lite I have, which is this really cool blue color. Now, I really do like the look of this phone. I love that the colors shift out on the rear of it, so you can see all different kind of highlights shifting out. It's almost not really like a blue, but sometimes it's a silver, sometimes it's almost a little bit purpley. Then you do get, of course, the blue come through, especially in direct sunlight. As you can see now that it's shifting out even more then. It's a nice look. It's something a little bit different there. So the camera module is following in the steps of the Xiaomi 12 Pro, the 12X, and the 12. Same style here. Now, I like the fact that they've gone with a 108 megapixel sensor with this one. It's a good camera, and it does take very detailed shots, especially daylight ones. Pixel bins down to 16 megapixels, f1.88 aperture, and we do have an 8 megapixel ultra wide, which is not really a good camera, very weak, and then a 2 megapixel macro and dual tone LED flash. So this part around here is plastic. The backing material, I haven't been able to confirm this, but I do believe it is also plastic with it, and we do have a plastic frame, but it doesn't feel like cheap plastic at all. The build of it is excellent. There's no creaks or flecks in it. Feels really good in hand. I do like the size. So 6.55 inches. The fingerprint reader location, a bit of a minor complaint from me. It's too low. You see where it is, but it does work quite well being an in-screen optical one. It's not ultrasonic. So if it was located here, that would be a little bit more convenient, a little easier to get to, but yes, you do get used to it. Now the screen bezels, you can see they are slim. I'll get onto the screen in a little more detail, but it's 120 Hz, it's an AMOLED screen, and it does have a 240 Hz touch response rate, which is good. Our selfie camera without a silver or gold ring around it, which is good. That's 32 megapixels. IR transmitter, secondary mic for noise cancellation in calls, and then a little tiny port there for the secondary loudspeaker. So yes, it does have dual loudspeakers. It's something that seems to be pretty much standard now with these phones. And our main loudspeaker here at the bottom. So you get more mids, more lows out of the speaker, and more highs and mids out of the other one. We've got our mic there, and our SIM tray tool that does take 2 nano SIMs, no micro SD card support, and no 3.5mm headphone jack, sadly, with this model. And of course, no video out of this Type-C port. It's only USB 2 data, so transferring files is rather slow. Great size, great weight, and the build quality, even if it's all plastic, it does feel good. So that touch rate, as I mentioned, it's 240 Hz, so it's nothing special, but I don't have any problems with it at all. The screen is a nice AMOLED panel that they have gone with. Now, it's full HD plus resolution, 120 Hz. If you go into the display settings, you get all your typical Android 12 settings there. Now, the refresh rate, you can set either 60 or 120. Sadly, there is no 90 Hz option. That would have been really nice, and I do hope with a firmware update that Xiaomi can later add that. So it is a screen that is also reasonably bright. We've got a sunlight mode, and then Of course, brightness control, that's very standard. That's been around for a long time now. And in direct sunlight, you can make out the screen. It tops out at just over 760 nits, the brightness, according to my light meter, and I find it to be adequate. I really don't have any problems triggering the gestures, not an issue there with this screen. And I'll just go into some of my images here that you'll see that it is a nice looking panel, and I really don't think anyone is going to be complaining with this screen at all. It doesn't have any of those IPS traits that sometimes can be the uneven lighting, especially around the cutout for the camera. So if I just zoom into this, you see the cutout doesn't have any of those kind of issues. It's a great screen, and best part for me, it's flat. It's not a curved screen. The UI is MIUI 13, and I know in the beginning it had a very rough start. I have been quite critical of it because, well, it wasn't really that stable. There were a lot of bugs, a lot of animation issues. I can thankfully say that things, yes, are starting to get a little better now. It feels very smooth here, even though we've just got a Snapdragon 778G. It's still a good chip. It is a 5G chip. And we do have the latest, well, I'm on the latest here, version of software. So they do have updates that they push through. And at the time of me, of course, publishing this review, I'm on the latest one. Now, I haven't noticed any serious bugs or anything. I've had no problems with, say, the proximity sensor. Calls seem to be fine. I've placed calls, of course, on it. The only thing I've noticed that if you're not using the phone for a while, say you're, I don't know, you put it down for an hour, you pick it up, and you go to unlock it, I have a couple of times just seen that funny little spinning animation there. Then it loads in all your icons there for the launcher. That is really the only thing, and it doesn't always happen. You can see now everything is behaving itself. It's very fast, smooth, and fluid. I hope they can maintain this, because a lot of the times with Xiaomi, when they post updates or they move to a new MIUI version, we often get these added bugs, which really starts to drag things down. But at this point of time, it's good, and it's getting a thumbs up from me, MIUI, and the ROM performance. Now, one thing that hasn't changed, sadly, is the deals that Xiaomi makes with other companies. So they have their applications already pre-installed on your nice new shiny phone. As soon as you power it up, you're going to see a lot of this, a lot of bloatware. Now, there are at least about 23 or so applications that I classify as bloat, and I removed those. It's around 2 gigabytes worth, but you just go into app settings, very easy to do. So it's not a big issue, but still, I would like Xiaomi to tone down on the bloatware. It just seems to be getting worse every single time. So how long does it take to charge? The 67 watt charger with the 4,300 milliamp hour battery. You can see up to 60%. It took 26 minutes. And then 48 minutes, it was at 88%. And then finally, fully charged at the 63-minute mark, which isn't bad. But it's not the fastest out there. I was actually expecting it to be a little bit faster, but still, around an hour, or even when it's under an hour, is an acceptable time for me, and still very quick to charge. So battery life, this is not a realistic test. However, it is a fixed looping benchmark test. You can compare it with all my other reviews of phones that I cover in the channel. So at 120 Hertz, 200 nits was the brightness that I always calibrate the phones to. It ran for almost 10 hours. Now that's not a bad score, but real world use, you're looking around 6.5 hours over. You can stretch it out a little bit more, of course, if you use 60 Hertz. So the battery life, I would say, is average okay. It's nothing outstanding here, even with the Snapdragon 778G. Performance-wise, it's not a bad chip at all. You can see here, getting just over the 500,000 mark score here with Antutu. That's good. And it only lost 1% battery. Okay, temps went up 7 degrees, but the temperatures of this mid-range chip are very good. Nothing like a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 or the 888. The storage is quite quick, as you can see. It's not the fastest out there, but not bad. All right, this version that I have has 128 gigabytes of storage. Geekbench 5 score, again, shows you that the Snapdragon 778G is a good performer. Not a bad chip at all. So we do have a Widevine level 1. Netflix will be in Full HD, which is good. Amazon Prime Video doesn't look to be yet with this device. And Camera 2 API support. So if you love your Gcam ports, it's got the full support we need for it. So you can test out other ports to get different styles of photos, of course. The GPS, typical Qualcomm here, caps out at 3 meters of accuracy, and it works well. Gets a lock pretty much straight away, which is what we want.
Onto audio now. So yes, if you want to use this, the ancient old tech analog 3.5mm, you are going to need that. Unfortunately, they don't include it in the box, but you can pick one up for really cheap. So I do find that the audio quality, especially with the Type-C to 3.5, sounds great. This is one thing that Xiaomi has done for years now. I think really good job of their audio reproduction. Comes through nice and clean. It's very clear and decent volume to it. So both of the loudspeakers, they're not bad sounding. There's a little bit of bass to them. I'd rate them as average. Nothing amazing, but they do the job. They're loud enough, loud for calls, and for people that like blasting out their music, or watching movie clips or whatever, it's going to be fine for that. So here's a sample at 100% volume. And a very quick look at gaming performance. So this is PUBG. You can run the extreme frame rate setting, but only on the smooth graphics setting. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. The way the developers have it set for the Snapdragon 778G. So we'll get out of that, jump into a little bit of gameplay and show you how it runs. The game is running fine at 60 frames per second. If you swipe here, you bring up Game Turbo and you can see that it's a constant 60 here. So this chipset's not having any trouble running this game, and I don't see any lag. Some of my teammates are firing at someone just there. See what's going on. But no slowdown. Even when you look through the sights, through the scope, it's not a problem. So good performance here. It's just a shame that we don't have a 90 frames per second option available for this chipset. That would have been really good and even better. So all the titles out there, all of the games that are on the Play Store, even demanding games like Genshin Impact will run just fine. Now, thermals, very good with the Snapdragon 778G. It gets warm, but it doesn't seem to get really hot and overheat. It's not a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. Moving over to the cameras now with the Xiaomi 12 Lite. Front-facing camera here, 32 megapixels, and it does have electronic image stabilization with video. And you can only shoot 1080p 30 and 60 with it, so it does not support 4K video, unfortunately. The electronic image stabilization is good, however, it seems reasonably steady here. Maybe not the steadiest I have seen, but let's take a look at the rear cameras now. So the rear main camera is 108 megapixels. It has electronic image stabilization, but not optical. I have not really seen any problems at all with the focus of it. It tends to lock on quite quick, which is what I've come to expect with this 108 megapixel sensor. So stabilization, pretty good. I'm only just holding this one-handed, walking ahead. I'll just jog ahead slightly. You can see now it's going to shake around a little, but overall not bad. Now when you pan around, you see sometimes a bit of that all too typical judder that I constantly mention in these videos, but unfortunately it's there. Now pulling back, with digital zoom, it won't swap over to the ultra-wide because the ultra-wide can only do 1080p. The ultra-wide camera only lets us shoot 1080p 30 frames per second. We don't even get a 1080p 60, sadly. So I really wish they'd gone with a better ultra-wide sensor. The video quality is a little washed out and certainly not as good as the main 108 megapixel sensor.
So great build quality, even though it's all plastic, it does feel really good in hand. I love the lightweight of this. So 173 grams is a lighter weight phone when most phones are well over 200, 210. A lot of flagships are even 220. And the more compact 6.55 inches and a very thin phone at that. It's really nice. And I love the fact that they went with a flat AMOLED screen without any curvature to it. That's good. So a big thumbs up there from me for that. Now, ROM performance, MIUI 13, I can thankfully say at the time of this video, is actually getting a lot better. Now, occasionally when, yes, I go to unlock it, I have sometimes seen that little spinning icon, then the whole launcher loads up all the icons. So it shouldn't happen, it's an optimization thing, but that's the only real thing. I'm nitpicking now, aren't I, when it comes to things with the phone. Also, a lot of bloatware. When you get it out of the box, you turn it on and there's just a lot of garbage apps in there that you have to go through and uninstall, which is a little bit annoying, but it is easy enough to go settings, apps, uninstall, and just go along and select all 2 GB and 25 apps or whatever, get rid of them. But I really wish Xiaomi would not do that. So it's a great mid-range, lightweight, smaller phone. If that's what you're after, you're not too fussed about the ultra-wide, this one gets a big thumbs up from me. There's another phone that I really like, which is still my favorite from Xiaomi too, which is the Xiaomi 12X. Make sure you check out my review of that one if you want a more premium build, better cameras, and the slightly better, well, quite a bit better, Snapdragon 870. Still a very good chip. If you game a lot, it's probably maybe the phone to go for, and if you use ultra-wide cameras a lot, its ultra-wide is slightly better. So do check out my review of that, and I hope to see you in the next one. I hope you did like this video here from me. Bye for now.